Alright, hell yeah. Nothing fancy on this video, but this wave is hard to paddle in over on this side. I'm trying to paddle on my strong side, so I'm on that far tube, and we're not able to. And then so I switch. Notice that I switched to my off side. So now I switch to this side. And in that switch, the boat, the boat is up against the pile. When I do the switch, the boat gets shoved to the other side. So always know that and have that in your playbook, that if you do switch from one side to the other, the boat kind of shoots out like hell yeah. And then we come in on our offside, but that's the better side because we're up against the pile. We can edge and we can kind of get into this trough. And so hell yeah. So once we're surfing, and that was the other thing, is like once I'm actually getting in onto this offside, I'm just going to surf all the way across. So what I've been practicing is coming in here and then switching sides. I'm going to try to exaggerate the forward strokes, but I can't too much, you know what I mean? But at least take enough forward strokes till I feel it's square enough. But even, it's kind of interesting. The boat is still traveling to the right, surfer's right, but when I jump to the other side and lay in this pry, the boat can come around. So we're still with this right angle, and then the boat's going to come around on that pry, and then I'm just, hell yeah, on the right side, and I'm prying that boat. That's always the stronger way. Like once you're holding a surf and a pry, you're just like, hell yeah. But anyway, come in on this side, and then we do another switch. So let's watch all the switches. So we're gonna come in on this strong side, and you run into a lot of issues over there. But hell yeah, this edge, highly edged, I fit right in, and then I need to switch to the other side, hell yeah, and lay in that pry. But that's I'm glad I'm able to do that, jump to the other side and then instantly lay that pry. So here, that motion right there we're going to talk about, and then we get pieced out. No, we at least do it twice. So there is a fundamental there. And I don't think this is super obvious, because when we do surf across, I do at some point have this pile here. And I'm just like, well, how do you surf up against it? But being on this far side is very useful. And this is fascinating to me. I think this is actually the same dynamic that happened when I saw an R1 surfer surf hellhole. Like this dynamic where you're on the farther side of a pile. So just imagine this is a huge pile, like hellhole is, and then I'm on this far side. What's going to happen is, like, if I do get this bow to go up into the pile a little bit, well, I'm on the low side, and the boat is going to surf back, you know what I mean, towards where I was. And so there you go, you know what I mean, because you get wedged. When this bow gets kicked up against the pile, like, hey, this is like throwing you up, and then it's going to rock you back, and you get a pivot as well. And so there's just a lot of good things about this fundamental, and I didn't really realize it. And this is super cool too, because it is a low-sided pry, which is kind of an awkward thing. You feel like you're going to fall out of the boat. It's aesthetically cool too. But yeah, there's a huge fundamental here that I did not realize until watching this. But watching that R1er that I saw, I've not seen any videos of him. But it's definitely, when it came to hellhole, he knew exactly where to put his boat, and is very useful. And I love how any surf wave, you can do the same fundamental. So even when you get to the big one, like this is the fundamental that is very useful, being like on the opposite side of the pile. See how we're way over there, but we are allowing our boat to, and typically, let's say I'm over here, sometimes it's easier to be on this tube and then angle this direction, because you're going to be on the high side, but that's going to carry me all the way over, and then I would have to do a pile spin and then go back. And so being on this low side tube is cool, because I can still angle over here to the right, because I'm using, and it's more pry oriented. Like actually, doing this, holding this angle is easier because you're holding it in the pry. When I'm actually, doing this and I'm actually going to surf all the way across, it's crazy. I can't control it because I would have to do forward paddle strokes to prevent that motion. That's why getting to this position is really useful, and now I can come across slower. And then when we go up against this pile, we let the bow bite and go up against the pile into a side surf, and then we can even do it more dramatically right here, and then you're basically letting the boat toaster or just kind of go into a side surf. So it's a low side toaster. If I was on the higher side right here and I just let the boat spin, cool, you're just going into a just a side surf. But hell yeah, I do like the word toaster, and because it signifies a side surf, and so hell yeah. So, and this is entering with a low side, and so you're low side toastering, and you can maintain. It allows you to maintain the low side longer, and so this is different than a shove it, because I would think a shove it would be like you're purposefully throwing in this and letting it turn. But hell yeah. And then with a shove it, you're actually getting to the higher side faster, and you're trying to get this to be more dynamic. You're trying to get it to pop, or at least shove. You're trying to throw this in here, and then you want this reaction to be shovey. But when you do a low side toaster, you get a pry. So hell yes, that's what I'm realizing. This is the same setup as the shove it. We're throwing our low side in, letting it hit and spin, but we're actually able to control this and reduce this energy. Look at that. And we can actually just stop that energy by reducing the amount from there to there. Like, sure, this builds up and builds in, but it's this motion from there to there that builds up the energy, and we're taking that out of its. And I'm getting this now, because if I just lay this tube in, at this angle, what I really want is to get pinched up against the pile. And, there still is a substantial pile over here. And when we do lay this, we are kind of over here in this corner, surfer's right. And so, but sometimes, this is just going to hit and then spin out. But, this is super fascinating. So instead of spinning out, we're actually controlling the energy back into the pile by using a rudder. And that is very fascinating. It's like our paddle is a rudder. It always seems crazy to me to actually would have a rudder underneath a boat when it comes to surfing, just because I don't think I'd be used to it. But like right here, we're actually using the paddle as a rudder. So this, sure, it could want to rotate out, but we're ruddering it in this direction. And that is, it's either leveraging, or what's the word? It's pinching, it's wedging. So that's the word here. We're using this buildup and we're wedging against the pile with a rudder. And so that's taking all the wind out of that sail. And then, hell yeah, and now we're just in a side surf. And so this is low side toaster. Hell yeah, and I think I can remember that, you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to coin terms where I can just go out and be like, hey, go do a low side toaster. And so hell yeah. So when I'm going to surf across, I'm going to try to get into this pile, and this will set me up for a low side toaster. And it's a very similar setup to a shove it. I'm doing a vertical hit and letting that build up. And the other thing about this is, like, if I do a vertical hit where I don't know where it's going to go, or you know what I mean? Because that's not the vertical hit I'd want to do for a shove it. I would want to lay this low side tube in a lot harder and let it build up and throw. But this is such a vertical hit that I'm just like, we need to do something with it before it just totally carries me out. Because of the vertical hit, you're more likely to get vertically carried out. So we do need this to rotate that way. And this also has fundamentals, like when you are doing a shove it, if you jump to the back, because this is going to get spun out, and a jump to the back is going to get low-sided in. So see, even right there, this stern, you still have some of that rotation, and this stern is getting low-sided in, and look at all my weight on the back. So this should surf, and we are surfing, you know what I mean? So you can kind of just tell, like, why is it going to surf and why. And so hell yeah, rudder it, and then leaning it back. So there's two aspects of there. One is the rudder, using the wedge, and then the other is already being in the back of the boat, near the stern when that rotates. And so hell yeah. And we're just looking to stall it into a side surf anyway. So the low side toaster, a lot more going on there than I thought. But yeah. And then even on this second hit, could I done anything? I don't know. Just really, if you can see, you know, if you can see this kind of coming in for a strike, then we really need to jump to the back and get some paddle into the pile. And so look at that. That is delayed. I see the strike and I'm not doing anything. So like, you know, I need to get better at being like, okay, I'm seeing this bow and the bow is dropping in. Uh-oh. I can just already turn for the strike right now, turn my body all the way around and then pry that stern back in. Sorry if I'm saying this is the stern strike, but this is the bow striking, and I need to, hell yeah, get the stern in. Okay, that was a decent one. So we're going to take a look at this. Strong side, trying to enter, get kind of bundled up. Switch to the off side. That lays it in because we're up against the pile. We're able to, but I'm going to get right back to that strong side with a pry to kind of hold that. I'm going to pry turn from left to right, which is a low side pry to get over here. And now I'm going to use that bow up against the pile, which we're calling a low side toaster. Hell yeah. So let's look at that low side toaster. So yeah, that was the whole video. The low side, right now, low side toaster. Hell yeah. And that seals that side surf. Booyah.